Course. Can't read that, can you? Math of Finance. I like to joke and say that the course really is math of getting rich, or math of getting a good job. And in fact, in the past, students have gotten good jobs. And I still hear from several of them. Over vacation, I heard from one who was telling me about her new condominium. She's only was out 3 years. She has her new condominium and getting a new car, and she just got a promotion. Another one up in San Francisco is also doing well. A couple of others are finishing up in graduate school. So if you take this course seriously, you will have an advantage. In fact, that is my goal. My goal is to make sure that each and every one of you, if you're interested in learning the material, each and every one of you will learn the material. And what happens is you will have the opportunity of getting a good position. Now, to do that, you're going to have to work hard. I'm going to have to work hard. I will do whatever it takes to try to get you through. On the other hand, because I will do whatever it takes to get you through, you will discover that I have very low patience level if somebody is busily working on their homework for the next class or something else. You will be asked to get out. And so what happens is I will be here to try to make sure that you learn the material. I want you to be able to reciprocate, to really work, to try to get this through. And as I've stated, students coming out of this class have done well, have done quite well in the past. Now, come on in. Come on in, come in, come in. We've been waiting for you. Now, how do I run the class? Well, you see, the material we're talking about, the math of finance, we're going to be learning about such things called puts. What's a put?
Like an input?
A put, yeah. In other words, you're not really sure, are you? What's a call?
Phone thing.
Yeah. So we're going to learn about these mysterious things called puts and calls, put-call parity. We're going to learn about the Blac-Scholes equation, how to derive it, how to modify it. We're going to learn a lot of material. In learning this material, what I want you to do is to develop your intuition. How many here are math majors? Okay, how many are econ? Okay, about half and half. Now, when you go into a job and they ask you something from economics or from mathematics, whichever area you're from, you really don't have time to go look up that old book and to derive the formula or something else. You need to have some intuition about what's going on and why. The models in economics are what? They're models that are used to try to develop instinct, intuition about what should and shouldn't happen. And the mathematical tools that we use from the mathematicians, folks, they're limited. They're not good enough. So you have to know why and where. And so what we're going to be doing throughout this course is worrying about assumptions. We're going to be worrying about what it takes for you to be able to develop a sense of what's going on. Now, that means you got to learn the material, and as I said, I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure you learn it. That means I will entertain questions at any time. You have a question about something, ask it, and let's not worry about it. Let's get it out right away. I'm going to have class management. At times I may not be able to answer all questions right away, but you will get an answer. I don't believe in that, and you will learn in your next course nonsense that all of you have heard. In fact, the most important question you can ask is WAGAT. Correct? Come on, come on. Who's going to ask? You all know what WAGAT means? What does WAGAT mean? All righty. Who gives, and I'll let you finish it. Who gives a, and you can finish the rest of the word. WAGAT is a question that we can ask at all times because what we're doing is we're asking, hey, this is a pragmatic course. Where is the pragmatism? Where can I use this to get myself another job? To better understand reading the business pages? Various other type things. So these are the type of questions you can ask me, and next time I'm going to get better markers. But that's the type of questions you can ask me. And folks, you will discover starting today, it's the type of question I will be asking you. When I say it's a dialogue, I mean it's a dialogue. I'll be asking you type questions. Now, let's get to the logistics and then let's get to the course. Any questions up to now? Okay, logistics in terms of grades. How are grades determined, etc.? Well, you see, tests and quizzes, I believe, are effective tools in getting you to learn the material. What does that mean? It means that you can expect quizzes unannounced. I do not collect homework. Homework tells me who you know. Quizzes tell me what you know. And so I will give you quizzes. Unannounced, sometimes 2 in a class. Just depends on where I think I need to give a quiz to find out what it is. Why do I give quizzes? Number one, so that you can understand what you know. Oh, you can see him right here. He's already saying, oh, I know this material. And then he goes and takes a quiz and says, whoops, I guess I didn't. Better to know it now than on an exam. So he can know more about me. You all like to play that game of trying to psych out the instructor, don't you? I did when I was a student. What kind of questions is he going to ask? And so what happens on quizzes, you see the type of issues that I'm going to emphasize. I learned more about me. Boy, did I give a brilliant lecture. Oh, that was so good. That was wonderful. Should be on YouTube. It's wonderful, the lecture. And then I give a quiz and find out nobody understood a word I said. Okay. And so I have to go back and recover the material. And finally, it tells me about you. Very rarely in these, in the last several years, but occasionally in the past, I would run into a student who does wonderfully on the quizzes. Not because who they're sitting next to, but does wonderfully on the quizzes. But freezes on the exams. All right, with this we can identify who that person is, and we can try to help. Finally, what happens is, what about these quizzes? Well, if you can do the homework, because remember I said the homework, I see everybody out there working as I walk by, working with each other in homework, and by the way, I approve of that. But if you can do the homework and understand the homework, you should get the quiz perfectly. Because the quizzes are essentially homework problems with different numbers, etc. That's all. That's all. Now, there are no makeups for quizzes here or in the discussion sessions. You miss a quiz, you get a 0. They're on a 10-point basis. You get a 0. On the other hand, what do? Is I will drop your 2 lowest grades. So if you miss 2 quizzes, those are the 2. If you miss 3, you're missing too much class. Okay? The quizzes are on a 10-point basis, as I said. And they will amount to approximately one test problem. But you will have no more than 100 points on quizzes. If I give more quizzes than that, I'll just drop more quizzes, your lowest quizzes. Our exams, you will have 2 of them. I will give you 1 week advance notice, calendar week advance notice before an exam. I am not announcing an exam today, so you know Thursday and Tuesday you don't have an hour exam. Okay. So I give you 1 calendar week advance notice. And I also make it very clear on the class period preceding an exam what to worry about. And then you have your exam. Now, what is the policy? Look, a lot of students in this class. Somebody's going to be sick. Somebody's going to have an auto accident on their way to class. These are things that have happened in the past. Somebody is caught in Chicago with the sub-zero weather and can't get out. The planes aren't getting out. All right, if you miss the exam, that's fine. Don't even bother telling me. I believe you have a legitimate excuse. I'll be happy to give you a makeup. In fact, not only will I be happy to give you a makeup, I'll be happy to give you a copy of the exam and the answers. Oh, I can see all the economists in here going through the incentive theory saying, oh, figuring how are we going to take advantage of this. The reason I do this is the following. It's that the makeup is that much harder. You need the copy of the exam and the answers to prepare for the makeup. When I'm writing up an exam, I write down a large number of questions. And then I say, oh, no, this one, you really need to know a little bit more material. You really got to understand these questions here before you can really tackle this question. So those are thrown off to the side for the makeup exam. And so the makeup exam is ready right when the regular exam is, but it is going to be another level harder. It's not impossible. It's not unfair. It's very fair. I've had people come in and really do quite well, but it's going to be harder, and that's only fair because you're ill, and I know you're ill. You would never leave otherwise. So she's not there, but she knows what's on the exam, and that hurts you. So really what we will do is you will have, the makeup will be more difficult. There is no makeup for a makeup, and the final is, whenever the final is, I haven't checked yet. When is the final scheduled? Nobody knows? Thursday of exam week? Oh, yeah, okay. So that's when it is. The same rules apply to that. How should you prepare for this course? Remember, I said I will do anything I can to make sure you understand. That includes extra sessions, extra discussion, anything. How can you prepare? What you can do is you can get together in study groups. I strongly recommend study groups. In the past, the students who have, put that away please. Do that again, you won't be here. If you are in a students that have been in serious study groups have always done better. Almost always have done better. Now, a study group of 1 is useless. A study group of 1, you get to this problem, is just a little wording, you can't understand it, and you're stuck all night, and you get nowhere. Study group of 1 is useless. Study group of 2 is better. Optimal is a study group of 3 and 4. Beyond 4, be honest. Put away the book, bring in the keg, have your party. Okay? So groups of about 3 or 4 are very good. And what is wise is if you get started soon, look around now and see who you want to get into your study group. Be wise if you start soon. You start learning the material, going over the homework together, going over Make sure there's no free riders, but you're going over the homework together. And you're going over the exams and quizzes and everything else. Okay, any questions? Okay, any questions about the course, any part of the course? Okay, and next time I will introduce your TAs. Some of you will meet them beforehand. Okay, now I don't know about you, but I was glued to the TV last night. I was busy watching a couple of football teams. Do you know that Auburn was practicing over here? Preparing for the game here? They were practicing up here on the field, right where Peltison and, what's the name of the street over here? Well, anyway, over here on the field, getting ready for the game. And so I guess maybe it was that reason that I was busy hoping for Auburn to have an upset. And boy, it was close, right? That was one of the best football games that I've seen. How many watched it last night? Okay. Now, there's some good games coming up. This is a time of the year that I really like. For example, next Sunday, we got San Diego Chargers over in Denver. And who do you favor?
San Diego.
You favor San Diego. Why? California. And they did beat Denver before, too. What kind of odds are you going to give me?
I don't know. Peyton Manning's pretty good.
Peyton Manning's, but what kind of odds? 2 to 1?
Sure.
2 to 1. Your first name?
Quinn?
Quinn. All right. And as I promise, I'll get better markers next time. But Quinn is taking San Diego, and he's giving 2 to 1 odds. What does that mean? 2 to 1 odds means that if I bet $5 with him, and if Peyton Manning comes through, like I expect he will, what happens is he owes me $2 for each dollar I bet with him. But if San Diego pulls an upset, which they can, they beat Denver on the road. That what happens is he keeps the money I bet with him. Who here likes Denver? Yeah, how odds are you going to give me?
I'll give you 3.5 points in San Diego.
3.5?
Give you 3.5 points.
No, I want points. I want odds.
Odds?
Yeah.
Give you 1.25 to 1.
All right. And your first name?
Corey.
Corey? I'm going to use K because it looks too close to Q. So, Corey, and he's going to give me 1.25 to 1, and he is taking Denver. So you see what happens here? See what happens here is that there's going to be this game on Sunday in the afternoon. It's on CBS. I don't pay attention. On CBS against San Diego and Denver. Denver wins. He keeps all the. He pays each person that bet with him $2 for each buck that they bet. He keeps all the money he has. What happens is, if San Diego wins, did I get that screwed up? Yeah. No, San Diego wins, he keeps the money, he pays $1.25 for each dollar that was bet with him. You're a poor struggling student. You got $100 for books. That's it. Who are you going to bet on? Maybe San Diego? You can put all $100 on San Diego?
Oh, maybe half.
Half and half? What's going to happen? What about you? Who are you going to bet on?
Depending on time which team's better.
What about you? No, huh? I mean, don't forget there's a risk involved here, isn't there? Do you know much about football? Then the risk is even bigger, isn't it? I thought you didn't because when I asked who watched the game, you were looking down. Okay. So what happens is that there's a risk involved here. And so with this risk that's involved, what we want to do is, why should I bet $100? Darn. Let me take a look and see what else they have here. Oh, here, try this. Oh, look at this. You got $100. If you bet your $100 on San Diego and Denver wins, you have no money. And all those books you can't buy. If you bet the other way around and they lose, no money. But you know what? There's a way to get rid of the risk. And this is going to be the economic term called hedging. Hedging. You bet on both. So let's take a look and see what we're going to do here. With Quinn, what we have is he takes San Diego and he's giving 2-to-1 odds. So you bet X dollars with Quinn. I don't know what X is. That's what we have to figure out. And then what we do is we bet the rest of the money. So I'm betting X dollars on Denver. And here I'm going to have the odds are 1.25 to 1. And I'm going to bet 100 minus X dollars. And I'm going to bet on San Diego. And the goal here is to find out, is it possible to cover my bets on both ways, hedging, so that I'm going to do okay? All right? So let's take a look and figure out what we should do. Number one. That's good enough. That's good enough. Number one is suppose San Diego wins. If San Diego wins, then I lose 100 minus X dollars. Oh no, wait a minute, excuse me. If San Diego wins, then Denver loses. And if Denver loses, I bet on Denver right here, so I'm going to lose that money. So I'm going to lose X dollars. But I'm going to go over here and say, hey, you owe me some money. You owe me $1.25 for each buck I bet right here. So I'm going to earn that's how much money I'm going to earn. And I want to find the X value so that I know I'm going to do okay. So we just collect these terms. That's going to be minus 5/4, 9/4. Correct me on my arithmetic if I'm wrong. 5/4 and 4/4 is 9/4. Plus 25, 4 goes into 25, 125. And so what happens here is I want to ensure that this is greater than 0. So I want to be sure that 125 is greater than 9/4 X, or X is less than 500 over 9, which is about $55 or somewhere in that neighborhood. So if I bet, if my X satisfies this right here, and I'm going to make some money if San Diego wins. Okay, everybody see what I did there? All I did is figure out what my losses are and what my profits are, and just added them together. Now, let's suppose Denver wins. That means San Diego loses. All right. So that means I'm going to go see Quinn and say, hey, I bet X dollars with you. I want twice that amount of money. 2X dollars. So my profit is going to be 2X. And my losses, it's going to be 100 minus X. Which is equal to 3x minus 100. And so therefore, if x is greater than 100 over 3, I'm doing okay. So if we take these two boards together, we have that. That if I choose X, somewhere in here, somewhere in these values right here, I'm free. I will win no matter what, right? No matter what happens, I will win. Yeah.
Why do you do 2x there? Because you bet x, so you only earn 1x.
No, what I did is I bet X dollars on Denver here. If Denver wins, I'm going to get 2X dollars back. Okay?
2x back, but you only earn 1x.
And then here, I'm losing this money right here because San Diego lost. So remember, no money exchanges. We're doing this for friends. No money exchanges hands till the game is over. And so therefore, I get here, this is what I won. With Denver won. I bet on Denver. So I'm going to get 2X dollars back. That's the amount of money I make. And here I'm going to, because I bet, because San Diego lost, and I bet 100 minus X dollars on San Diego, I lose all of that money right there. And so minus a minus is a plus, so that's 3X minus 100, and I do it like this.
So you bet 100 totally, right?
No, 100, total of 100, yeah.
Then you should compare what the money earned with 100, right? Instead of 0.
No. No money exchanged hand. In fact, what happens here, and that's what I'm going to tell you, and I'll come back to that in a few seconds. So therefore, if X lies between here, if X lies between this amount right here, I am guaranteed to earn money. Notice, not a penny came out of my pocket. Not a penny came out of my pocket. I'm guaranteed without using any of my money. Because what happens is, if I bet this amount of money right here, let's say 50, right in the middle. If I bet 50, what happens is, if San Diego wins, then what I'll do is I'll take my winnings and pay off my losing, and I'll still make that amount of money. Right there, okay? Because this right here is my losses, here's my winning. So if I choose 50 here, with 50 inside there, that's 50, divide through, multiply through, and subtract off what X is, 50, and that'll give you exactly the amount of money that I'm putting in my pocket. So I have enough money from him to pay off him. Okay? And I didn't take any money out of my pocket. And the other way it goes that way too. All right? And so in this fashion right here, we got it. Yeah?
I have a question similar to his idea. So let's say we bet 50 each, right? And Denver loses. So then we lose $50, but then you gain 62.
So if we do that, if we throw $50 here, suppose we put $50 on Denver, Denver loses,
So we lost 50 of our 100.
lost 50, but I'm going to
But then
get
we
back,
have another $12.50.
I'm going to have $12.50 profit.
But that's still $37.50.
No, let's take a look. I'm betting $50 here.
Right.
What happens is I'm getting $1.25 for each one, so I'm getting $62.50.
Oh, on top of the 50?
Yeah. Money, no money changes hands. We're not talking about a racetrack where you put your money down. At a racetrack, you put your money down because they don't believe you're going to come there if you lost.
Right, so you say,
We're just doing it on the exchange.
oh, so you say 50, they lose. you
Yes,
give them 50.
got it. And so that's what we have here. Okay, now what we have then is we have two curves. We have two curves, and they're going to be the profit curves. You can draw the profit curves for these two situations. For the Denver curve, if x equals 0, I'm up to 125. When x equals whatever this number is right here, some number right here, I got 0. And so my profit is always here. Here's my profit. You choose that amount, that's my profit. Choose that amount for x, that's my profit. So all I'm doing is taking this curve right here and graphing it. This is the curve y equals minus 9 fourths x plus 125. Okay, so that's the profit curve. Yes?
So if no money changes hands, when would this be realistic?
Oh, no money changes hand until the game's over.
Right. So if you go to a bookie, they're not going to
No.
You go to a racetrack, they're not
Yeah.
gonna do that.
So we're not doing it. You're asking good questions. So let me clarify it here right now. Before the game, we're doing it among friends or people that have heavy baseball bats. I used to live in Chicago. Okay. So what happens is no money changes hands until after the game.
Okay.
Now, if you go to a bookie or go to a racetrack or anything else of that type, are you going to show up if you lose? Oh, by the way, I owe you $100.
Probably. 'Cause
Probably, you probably be 5 states away, okay, if we got enough, okay? So there they want the money down in advance.
right.
Here we're not putting money down in advance. Here we're just talking in terms of friends sitting down, having a Coca-Cola, watching the game.
Okay.
Watching the football game. And so at the end of the game, that's when money exchanges hands.
So only the people who are giving you odds will never give you odds again because you'll always win.
We're getting to that next. Very good. We'll get to that next. Now what happens is, well, I draw this curve right here, 3x minus 100. And this curve right here goes up like this. This is the curve 3x minus 100. It's this curve right here. And so what happens then is this interval right here is this interval right here. If I'm anywhere in here, then no matter what happens, I either get this profit or I get that profit, depending on who wins the game. This is just a profit curve. Okay? Question? Got it? You see what I'm doing here? Okay, now, there's an issue here. The issue is, we're not in this game, in this betting. She doesn't care who wins the game, and she doesn't find any excitement from watching the game next Sunday at 2 o'clock. What she wants to do is she has $100 for books, and she wants to be able to buy more books. So she wants to maximize her outcome independent of who wins. Where is that? The intersection of the two curves. It's the intersection of the two curves. If she bets that amount of money right there, then no matter who wins, she's going to earn that amount of money. If she bet less, if this team wins, she's going to win a little bit. The other team she'll win more. Likewise here, but she doesn't know what's going on. She just wants to be guaranteed a certain amount of money coming out. Okay, everybody with me on that? How do I find that intersection point? Set the two equations equal to each other. Exactly. And so let's do that. That'll give me the value of x, and then I can figure out the profit. So if I set the two equations equal to each other, I'm going to have 3x minus 100. And I'm going to, that's 3x minus 100. That's this curve right here, this line, profit line right here, which is going uphill. And I'm going to set it equal to minus 9/4 x plus 125. And so now all I do is solve, and I'm going to have 3 9/4 x equals 225. 12, 21. 21/4 x equals 225. So if I let x be 225 divided by 21, multiplied by 4, I know exactly how much. What is this, about $42 or $43? I know exactly how much to bet. And what happens is, not only do I know how much to bet, but when I take this value of x and I substitute it into one equation or the other, it doesn't matter because they both cross, I will find what is my winning. What are my winnings? Okay, everybody with me on that? Okay, so what is this called? Hedging is where you bet on both sides. Hedging is a form of insurance. We will discover later on as we go along, hedging is a very important form of insurance. It covers you if the market is all of a sudden going to drop. A friend of mine in the state of Michigan is a very wealthy lawyer. What he does is if you lose money on the market, what he will do is he will take on a suit for you and he will check whether they hedged properly. Hedging is insurance in case the market goes this way or that way. It's exactly the problem that we had with her. She doesn't know who to bet on. So hedging is to cut your losses. So hedging is a form of insurance, and we're going to make this very precise as we go along. And it is a way to cut your losses. As I said, my friend in Michigan, a lawyer, what he'll do is if indeed you lost too much money, he will check to see if the finance firm did appropriate hedging to find out, to protect you. If you invest money in a company, quite often they will ask, do you want to take risk or do you want to be very conservative? What are your objectives in your investment? Those terms right there are partially involved with hedging. So I'm using this football example simply because it's easier to understand to grasp the idea of hedging. You bet on both sides. There is another concept. Arbitrage. Arbitrage. A-R-B-I-T-R-A-G-E. Arbitrage is where you will make, you're guaranteed to make money. You're guaranteed to make money. Does arbitrage exist? Oh yeah, it does. Another one of my friends took a 2-year leave from her academic position, and because she recognized a little time gap when things were, and she found a way to have arbitrage and became quite wealthy. So arbitrage is where you are guaranteed to make money on here. Now, let's go to your comment. What was your comment about the gambling?
So if the person who gives you odds always loses money, if he won't, then he's not going to give you odds. But if he makes the odds so bad, then you're not guaranteed to win money.
That's right. What happens now, if the two of them got together and they found out that it didn't matter what happened, and we're sitting around in the same room, and they're finding out no matter who wins, I'm going to make money, they're going to start adjusting their odds, aren't they? They realize I'm taking advantage of them. That is an important role, a very important role of arbitrage. What arbitrage does is when people realize that there's an opportunity for money, a lot of people will jump in on it. When a lot of people try to take advantage of it, the people that are losing the money are going to start making adjustments. And that is why we have a certain amount of smoothness, etc. When we write down equations, later on when we get to the Blac-Scholes equations and several others, we're going to be assuming that certain equations, you can differentiate them. Whoa. I can see where, I can differentiate that from physics. But why can I differentiate an equation that comes from your opinion, and we're putting them together? How are you going to do that? And where that comes from, the ability to assume that things are continuous and differentiable, etc., a lot of it comes from arbitrage. People adjusting so that if it isn't there, you're going to get it down so it is there. And we're going to see exactly how to do that. So what are some of the things that we're going to be looking at? You now know what hedging is. I hope you wrote it down in your notes. You now know what arbitrage happens to be. And these are two terms that we're going to be using throughout the term, our course. They're going to be central. When we start putting together portfolios, we're going to be putting forth portfolios that go both ways. And I'll give you several examples that came from when I've taught this class before, and I created this course when I was at Northwestern University. And a couple of the students looked at because I always encourage the students to read the business page. I've never read the business page before. Go ahead, read it, find out, see what's there. And what happens is they came in and they said, we think we see an arbitrage opportunity. So we talked about it in class. Some of them wrote it down in their notes, and some of them reached out their wallet on Friday and made money by Monday. So we're going to be looking at situations of this type, and we're going to see how that affects our intuition about what happens, how that affects how the market actually behaves. So arbitrage and hedging. Okay? Now, I was going to write something else down, but I have to get better markers than what I have here. So what I'll do is I'll get into something else. What we really want to do is we want to have some idea. Remember what I stated at the very beginning. The goal is for you to develop some intuition about when you could make money, when the mathematics needs changing, when. whatever happens. Your goal is to develop some instinct, some sense about that. So to do that, we're going to look at this problem right here and say, what is there about this particular problem where I should have guessed in advance that it is to my advantage? Or what types of problems are going to be put forth to me and I'm going to say, ooh, stay away from that. To do that, we're going to introduce a couple of things called a fair bet. But to do that, we have to introduce or remind some of you, reminding, I hope, a reasonable portion of you, but not all of you, I'm going to introduce a little probability and statistics. We're going to need a lot of that in this course. You'll get what you need. If you don't remember it or you haven't had it, don't worry. We'll get it. Now, what is a probability? Probabilities are really, in some sense, the frequency or the likelihood that something's going to happen. So P1 is a number between 0 and 1. And it is a likelihood that event 1 is going to occur. If I flip a coin, what's the likelihood of heads? 1/2. So therefore I have that the probability of heads is 1/2. The probability of tails is 1/2. So what we want is if I have distinct events, so there's no overlap. And we're talking about a finite probability space right now. Then what I have is the probability of each event. The probability of each event is Pi. And the summation of them has to equal what? Has to equal unity. Unity is the likelihood that something's going to happen. It's the likelihood that something is going to happen. So, what we want to do now is, let's take a look at a couple of problems. We're going to use this to invent something which is called expected value. Expected value is exactly what the words say. What do you expect? So its expected value is the expected value of a function. Well, the trouble with a function is, if you have a function like f of x equals x squared, you take the x point and you stick it in there and you find, you square it and you get the value. In probability, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the event of maybe getting heads or tails. And so what happens is, it's not a function where I put in the value, it's where I put in one of these events that can occur, and so we call that a random variable. Don't worry about this. Random variable, just think of it as a function that says if this event comes up, here's what you're going to earn. If this event crops up, here's what you're going to earn. Example, random variable. Random variable x. There are two events. The events is that the temperature outside is going to be 68 and the temperature outside is going to be 75. That's the only two temperatures. And so what is random variable here? The random variable, if the temperature is 68, it is go to class. And if the random variable, if it's 75, your random variable might be skip class. Go to the beach. So that's the kind of random variable that you have been using all along anyway. You're looking at an event, and you say, if it's going to do this, I'll do that. If it's going to do that, I'll do that. That's all. And the events are not necessarily deterministic. If they're not deterministic, you get a random variable. So let's try to use this random variable. And we'll work out a couple of problems. First one, random variable of heads is $10. But if tails comes up, it is minus $20. And what you want to do is, how much can I expect? How much can I expect? And so what happens is, what we can expect is the following. The expected value of the random variable x. The expected value of the random variable x is going to be the obvious. It's going to be, how likely is it to get heads? And if I get heads, what's my reward? Plus, how likely is it to get tails? Plus, what's my reward? Okay? And so we just now substitute in the values. One half, the probability of heads is 1/2. We're around here somewhere, way over there. And I'm going to get $10 if that's true. The probability of tails is 1/2, and I'm going to lose 20 bucks. And so what I'm going to have is 5 minus 10, or a minus $5. So in that bet right there, you can expect to lose. And so what you will have throughout this course is a lot of expected values. What can I expect to happen? Let's try another one. Let's write down the definition and then try out another one. That really the expected value of a random variable, it's going to be, how likely is the ith event going to happen times what is going to be my reward if that happens, and let's sum over everything that can happen. Okay? What would be the expected value if I change this to $20? Pardon? 0. That's a fair bet. A fair bet is where the expected value is equal to 0. Okay. Now, suppose I take a penny, put it on a table, and spin it on the edge. What's the probability of heads? 1/2. Nope. Not at all. I haven't tried this on a penny for the last, at least decade. But some of the older pennies, and I found this out in my class, probability and statistics, where I told them I expected the answer is going to be 1/2. But I said, let's go try it. So each student in a class of 60 had to go out and spin the penny 100 times and report the results in class the next day. First student says, I think I screwed up. I got 29 heads. And the other one said, me too, I got 31. We went through the class, did the statistical analysis, and to my surprise, with all the tools of statistics, at least pennies then, and I said I haven't done it for a while, probability of heads is about 0.3. Tails about 0.7. Why? If you look at a penny, particularly the older pennies, now they're made out of I don't know what, but the head is a little heavier. The face is a little heavier than the backside. So when it's spinning, it changes that axis of rotation so that the head will go down first and the tail will crop up more often. Okay? So what happens is after I discovered that, I happened to be in Paris. And so a friend of mine and I, we were sitting on the floor, maybe we had too much wine, but we're sitting on the floor taking French francs, that was before it was euros, and we were spinning those to find the probability and on and on. And it turns out that indeed, a lot of coins, if you spin them, because they're not quite symmetric, you will get a different answer. To finish the story about my class, and this was a class at Northwestern, what happens is, that night, and I know none of you would ever do this, but that night, a large number of them went back to the dorms. I said, Rita, call it. Now, what do you say if someone asks you to call? Everybody says heads. Okay, call it, heads. Oh, it's tails. I guess the students cleaned up. They also cleaned up on stories like the football game, or using it on politics and anything. Alrighty, so now what we do is for spinning, the probability of heads is equal to 0.3, and the probability of tails is equal to 0.7. For this one right here, find the expected value. Okay. The expected value is going to be the probability of heads times what I'm going to get if heads shows up, the probability of tails times what I'm going to win if tails show up. Alrighty. So we just need to substitute. The probability of heads is 0.3. This right here is $20. Plus 0.7, and this right here is minus $20, which is equal to 0.6 or $6 minus $14 on minus 8. So you can see how the probabilities strongly influence expected value. Would get expected value of 0 if you're flipping the coin. See, if you flip the coin, that slight lack of symmetry isn't going to affect it that much. Okay, because it's spinning in the air. But you do it on the edge, now it's changing that axis of rotation. All right? So that's what we have here. Now, I'm going to give you a problem. Remember what a fair bet is. Take San Diego. Let's find out what he thinks is the likelihood of San Diego winning. We're assuming it's a fair bet. What does it mean for a fair bet? It means the expected value is 0. What does it mean? It means you'll take one side or the other if it's a fair bet. At those odds, you'll take San Diego or he'll take Denver. Why? Doesn't really matter. It's a bet, because you don't have an advantage one way or the other. So if he thought it was a fair bet, from this we should be able to find out what he thinks is the probability of San Diego winning. So compute it. Got an answer? Mm-hmm. No. Pay attention. Okay, so let's write down what it should be. In this situation, he's stating that the probability, it's a fair bet, so 0 is equal to the expected value of x. So what does this mean? This means that this is equal to the probability of San Diego winning. And if San Diego wins, he's going to get $1. Plus the probability of Denver winning, and here he's going to lose $2. Correct? Everybody with me on that? Now, what is the probability of, now I have to find out what's the probability, these are unknowns. I got 2 unknowns, 1 equation. Fortunately, I've got another equation. That the sum of the probabilities has to equal 1. Somebody has to win the game. So this can be written as the probability of San Diego winning minus 2 times 1 minus the probability of San Diego winning equals 0. And what that gives me when you carry out the arithmetic, that gives me 2 is equal 3 times the probability of San Diego winning. So therefore, his opinion is that the probability of San Diego winning is 2/3. Okay, everybody with me on that? Okay, now what we have is one person's probabilities. And so therefore for me, the probability for me that San Francisco is going to win, San Francisco, wrong game. Denver is going to win is 1/3. Okay, Now what I want you to do is we go over here and we find what is, he gave the odds of 1.25. Oh, right here we go, 1.25. And what he was doing is he was betting on Denver. So find what was the probability of Denver for him. So if he thinks it's a fair bet, 0 is equal to the probability of Denver winning, and he'll get $1 if Denver wins, plus 1 minus the probability of Denver winning, and he will lose 5/4, which is his payoff. And so what we have then, when we go through the arithmetic, it's that 5/4 is equal to 9/4 x. Probability of Denver, excuse me. Let's see. That will go on that side. That's 4/4, and that's 5/4, so that's 9/4. And so therefore, the probability of Denver winning is equal to 5/9. And so for me, the probability of San Diego, the odds are it's 4/9. Okay, everybody with me on that? So you have a simple way. Now this is important, because one of the things which we do in our classes is we give you all kinds of answers, and so therefore you're having trouble when you get to something new. That's not in the textbook. What you want to do is you want to get into the habit of looking at these equations and saying, what can I extract out of there? You have a little bit of advantage over him. You're going to make more money by trying to figure out what extra information you can get out. And here we have the information about what they have. Now let's take a look. Remember, the sum of the probabilities has to equal 1, right? Okay, so let's take a look at my probabilities. For me, I have that the probability of Denver winning, San Diego winning, plus the probability for me of Denver winning should equal 1. Let's see, so that means that 4/9, what was the other number? 1/3 or 3/9 has to equal 1. Does it? Nah. It's smaller than 1. The fact that the probabilities for me, that they sum up to less than 1 means there's another little nudge inside there. That the probability of my gambles of what's going to happen ends up less than everything means there's another little nudge it inside there, and that's what allows me to take advantage of the situation. So whenever the sum of the probabilities in my gambles adds up to less than 1, You got an advantage, folks. You got an arbitrage opportunity. What happens if the summation is greater than 1? You're being taken to the cleaners. Now, go over to the odds on who's going to be in the NBA Finals. They're posted. Assume each of them is a fair bet and find out what's your probability if you bet. Add them up, and the number will be not less than 1, not equal to 1, not more than greater than 1. It'll be about 2 or 3. Means it's stacked against you. It's really stacked against you. Okay? So try it. Go home and check some of these things. Check some of the things where the likelihood of such and such happening is listed. Your odds are such and such. Sum them up. Figure out what for a fair bet, figure out what it is and find out how badly you're being taken. Fairly badly. On there. Okay, so let me quickly summarize and tell you what, because we got 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Number 1, where's my book? Where's my book? I will be sending you chapter 1 through the internet. What I decided to do is that rather than having you go buy something, I'll send you chapters of the book as I sharpen them up. Free, in other words. Number 2, course policy. I sent you an email. Where can I find it? You can find it on the web page. Course web page. That gives you more of the policy of the course than what I have stated here. Be sure you read it. So what we will do is number 3, homework. Probably about 6 or 7 tonight, I'll send you out your homework problems. I got a class until 5, and then I do have to have dinner. So maybe about 7. So tonight, what I do is rather than giving homework in class, I give it by email after class. Why? I'm not interested in presenting material. I'm interested in changing the course as I did today, changing my lectures. See, what I actually do is I prepare about 2-3 different lectures. Notice no notes. You have notes, then I'm presenting material. Okay? So I prepare actually about 2-3 different lectures. And then depending on time, depending on questions, depending on something like that, I go in one direction or the other. So therefore, I want the homework to reflect what we covered. And that's why I do it after class, in the evening after I've reflected on what we've covered. So you're going to get the notes. You're going to get, for the chapter 1, and I'll give you a homework assignment. You have the policy page and everything else. And I guess for you're out with 1 minute to spare. Okay. See you Thursday. What? Excuse me, what? Discussion sessions start tomorrow. How's that? Discussion sessions start tomorrow. There's one of the TAs over there.